Today's drill is a chair holdback drill, taught to me by Coach Matt Ellis over on Elite Throws Coaching on YouTube. I'll link him in the description. For this drill, all you'll need is your throwing shoes, a chair with a back like this, and about 6 by 6 feet of space. Now, the goal of this drill is to stop you from opening up prematurely during your throws, and it helps connect the transition from the drive to the end of the throw. So you're going to start about 2 feet away from the chair, or however long your foot reaches when you go from the end of the circle to the middle of the circle. So for me, that's about 2 feet. So we'll start here, extend our foot out, and this is where we're going to be starting. You're going to bring your foot around, landing it near the closest leg of the chair. You're going to put your hands on the back of the chair, and you're going to swivel around, ending up in that position right before you're about to throw. So like before, we're going to be about 2 feet away from the chair. I'm going to bring my foot around, landing it near the leg of the chair, twisting myself at the same time, and keeping hold of the chair so that way my chest is facing the back of the circle. So let's do that again, all quick. I'm going to start, bring your foot around, grab the chair, and wind up. Now, what this drill does is that it teaches your body how to stay wound up during the entirety of the throw, which, if you're constantly focused on just throw, it can be very difficult in order to reteach yourself how to stay back and stay wound up. Now, that wind up is going to be worth it because it allows you to have more potential energy stored in your ligaments, your muscles, and your tendons. This drill is very helpful, especially if you're a rotational thrower. It can still be helpful if you're a glide thrower, but I find that it's especially helpful for me because I tend to be a little ambitious. And what I mean by that is I like to go through the motions of the throw very quickly. And sometimes when doing that, you can neglect some of the most important parts of the throw. Now, I tend to like to do this about, I don't know, 6 to 10 times if I'm having trouble with it. And by the end of that, you'll get a really good feel for it. For today's drill, you'll need your throwing shoes, a chair, and about 10 square feet of space. This drill is specifically in order to teach glide throwers how to push off your heel properly when you start to initiate the glide. A lot of glide throwers I know have problems with that. They feel like they have to push off the front of their toes or even their whole foot entirely. Now, this drill is real simple. All you have to do is start standing at the edge of the chair and line one foot in front of the other, and then start your throw at the end of where those 2 feet meet. So for me, that's about right here. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to get into your normal glide position. Now, what you're going to do is get on your toes, rock back, push off your heel, and just sit back into the chair. Let's see that again. So get on your tippy toes, rock back onto the heel, and just sit back. Now, this will train your body in order to more efficiently push off your heel. Obviously, if I did that with full power, I'd go slamming into my wall over there. But it is a good drill in order to get your body used to that feeling and to get over that fear of falling. That's why my chair is here. He is here to catch me when I fall. So one more time, let's see that from the beginning. So start at the edge of the chair, put one foot in front of the other, stay here, get into your glide position, get onto your dominant foot's toes, rock back, push off the heel, and just fall back into the chair. I'd say do this about 5 to 10 times. And by the end of it, you should be good and comfortable with leaning back as far as you can. This drill is all about developing trust in yourself and your own abilities. And that can be kind of hard if you are constantly afraid of falling. And you'll never reach your potential if you're constantly afraid of failing. It is okay to fail. Failing is, it's frustrating, but it's one of the most important parts of any sport. To fail is to succeed eventually. You only truly fail if you give up. I'm showing you a different angle so you can actually see my feet as I do this. So we're going to stand up, feet at the edge of the chair. We're going to put one foot in front of the other. And this is about the distance that you want to start the drill from. So let's get into our regular throwing position. Left foot back, get on your tippy toes for your dominant leg, rock back, and just sit back into the chair. Now, notably, I'm not pushing hard enough to actually catch myself, which I would be doing if this was a full glide throw. I'm obviously not doing that because I don't want to smash my head into the wall behind me. I will connect this drill to another drill I'll call the A-frame drill later. But for now, it's important to learn how to overcome your fears for the push and the sit back, the glide. A chest pass is very simple. All you have to do is put a ball of some sort in your hands, face wherever you like to throw, and push off with your arms. Now, the motion you're focusing on specifically is that push of the shot put. So, after many repetitions, your muscles are going to have a lot of muscle memory to work with when it comes to getting that last push. If you're having trouble specifically pushing in a straight line, this can be very helpful for you, as just getting that down again and again can be super helpful in order to train your muscle memory. Right here, I have a 8-pound medicine ball, although it really doesn't matter. Although ideally, you want a medicine ball that's similar weight to your shot put, so that way you can get a good feel for the pushing motion. You can see I've chosen poor Hello Kitty up there as a good spot to aim for. Now you want to choose a specific spot in order to hone that muscle memory as best as you can. If your throws are all super sporadic, they're all over the place, it's going to be really hard to develop that muscle memory. Now, if you can hit that same spot over and over again, you can really train that muscle memory as quick as you can. Now, if you're having trouble with that final push of the shot put, I would recommend doing these about 15 to 30 times, depending on how you're feeling. Making sure to stick to one point on the wall, making sure you're hitting that consistently. And after that, you should be good to go. Now, the name broom handle drill is a little bit of a misnomer, as you can use really any hefty stick that you have around, although a broom handle is likely going to be what you have on hand. Now, the main purpose of the broom handle drill is to get your shoulders, your arms, and your upper body in line so that way you can throw. In order to start one, what you'll need is a broom handle or something of the like. Now, to start, we're going to put it over our shoulders with our non-dominant hand at the end of the broom. We're going to wrap our dominant arm around the stick and put it on our neck. Now, this position may look familiar to you, as it is the same one that you use right before you throw the shot. I will get back into position. If I bend down a little bit on my right leg, giving myself a nice angle, you can see that this is almost identical to what the ending of a shot put throw looks like. Putting the cane aside, you can see that this position right here is followed immediately by the pull-in of the left arm and the push of the right. So this follows the regular throw almost perfectly. So my arm's going to be out, and this is the point at which the broom handle drill is useful. So we're going to imagine that our shoulders are in line. We're going to push. So we're going to start with our arm out here. We're going to lock, twist your leg, and then we'll get to a point where this is perfectly where the ending of your throw should be. Now, the broom handle drill isn't so much a drill as it is an easy way in order to correct your form. If their shoulders are forward or their arm isn't as straight as you'd want it to be, it can be really hard for them to understand what you mean by that and how to fix it. The broom handle drill is perfect for that because it forces your arms to be in the exact right place that you want them to be. You can see here I have no wiggle room except for my abdomen. This was also good if you have any drills that really focus on the core or the legs and don't really need to be focusing on the arms as much. Today we're going to be talking about how to keep the shot put on your neck for the entirety of the throw. The problem that some throwers face is that they'd like to take the shot put off their neck earlier than they're supposed to. Now, the correct time to take your shot put off of your neck is when you're about to pull in with your left arm. So you pull in with your left and push out with your right. Taking the shot off too early can not only result in suboptimal throwing levels, but it can also result in injury and muscle pain if it's done improperly. This is because the further the shot is away from your chest, the worse the leverage is. For example, it's really easy to push off when my arm is nice and close to my chest. Now you can see it's really hard to push when I'm all the way out here. I could barely control it just for that demonstration. Now, in order to fix this problem, what I want you to do is place your shot put on your neck, as you usually would, and just ever so slightly push the shot put into your neck. Not enough to hurt yourself, but just enough to be effective. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to prevent your arm from naturally wanting to come off of your shoulder, and it's going to keep it tucked in right in place. Now, while pushing the shot into your neck, you shouldn't feel pain or like your blood is being cut off from your neck. All you're doing is just keeping it nice and snug against your neck, not allowing the force of the movement to jostle it out of your hand. And one of the most popular reasons the shot put can get out of your neck is because as you transition from the glide, turning your hips and going into a standing motion, that jostle of the foot settling in can sort of kick the shot put up, which just worsens as you go through the motions. So it's very important that you keep it nice and precise as you develop your form, as something so small like this can lead to drastic results later down the line. Today we're going to be talking about the push down drill, which looks something like this. I'm going to show you how to do it, what it can fix, and what it's used for. So this drill is pretty simple. So in order to start it, all you have to do is put your shot in your right hand, holding it with your left. So when you're ready, you're going to quickly push up with your left, so that way you can push down with your right. Now you're pushing up with your left hand, so that way the shot just doesn't fall out. So that would look something like this. And that's not going to help you as much because you're not as much pushing it as you're just letting it fall to the ground. So we're going to push up on the shot like this with your left hand. And then when it's in the air, you're going to push down with your right to create that flicking motion at the end of the throw. So like this. Doing this teaches your body how to flick better with your dominant hand. It's also for teaching your body how to push with your dominant arm, so it's doing two things at once without necessarily throwing it. So again, push up with your left and push down with your right. Now you don't necessarily have to throw the shot in the air, although that's what I prefer. If you don't want to do that, instead you can just hold it in your left and just push down right from there. Of course, you have to get your left hand out of the way really fast, but overall it doesn't really matter, as the same thing happens either way. Although I personally just like to have it raise up, so that way I can get a more satisfying push. But at the end of the day, that's just to each their own. Today we're going to be talking about the starfish drill, also known as the weight transfer drill. This is likely going to be the first drill that you ever learn for shot put, and it is the base for everything else, so get used to it. Admittedly, I probably should have done this drill first in Drill December, but you know what? I got around to it. I take full responsibility for that. I'm doing it now, so enjoy. So if you've never done shot put before, I recommend watching this whole video. If you have done shot put before, skip to this time frame right now. Alright, so you're a new thrower. I'm going to walk through the entirety of the basics of this drill, and by the end of it, you should get the basic concepts of what shot put's all about. So in order to start, we're going to put our feet together. Our dominant foot is going to go in slightly in front of your non-dominant foot, so that way they couple together like this. You can see here that my dominant foot, which is my right foot, is slightly further, and my heel of my right foot actually goes into this groove in your left foot. So we start from here. We're going to bring our right foot, or your dominant foot, a little more than shoulder's length apart, but still keeping that same ratio from your feet, so you can see that my right foot is still ahead of my left foot. So this is how you're going to open up and start many other drills, but for right now this is super important to keep in mind. So from here, in order to start the starfish drill, you're going to put your arms out. You're going to shift all your weight onto one leg, and then you're going to shift it to the other.
you're going to still keep that ratio from your foot. So my right leg is still in front of my left. And all you're doing is you're learning to shift your weight from one leg to another. I kind of messed it up there, but you understand the idea. So once again, we're going to start with our dominant foot in front of the non-dominant foot. My heel is still rested in this groove. We're going to bring it slightly more than shoulder width apart, keeping that distance with your feet. So you can see here that the end of my toe from my right foot extends about 6 inches in front of the end from my left foot. So once again, you're going to bring your arms out and you're going to shift the weight onto one leg, and then you're going to shift the weight onto the other, keeping control and balance over yourself. Now this is called the starfish drill because, as you can see, I kind of look like a starfish. Now it's also called the weight transfer drill because, as you can see, I'm currently transferring my weight from one leg to the other. So while this drill may not be the flashiest of drills or the funnest of drills, it is one of the most important because understanding the shift in weight in your body and being able to control it is one of the most important skills in Shotput. And if you don't develop it, it can really throw off your throws later down the line. So it's really important to get mastery over your balance and the shifting of your weight from one side of your body to the other. Let's start off how we did yesterday. So we're going to get our feet in the same position with our dominant foot slightly in front of our other foot. So that way they're nestled together real nice. We're going to bring them out a little more than shoulders width apart. And we're going to get on to our dominant leg. From here, all I want you to do is just do a single leg squat until your non-dominant leg touches the ground. So you can see here, I went from the position we were yesterday and just squatting down until my left leg hits the floor. So let's try that again from the beginning. Put our feet together, take them a little more than shoulders width apart, put all your weight on your dominant leg, and then squat down until your non-dominant leg touches the floor. You can see that I'm not bringing it down, I'm keeping it in the same spot it was yesterday, and I'm just squatting until my leg reaches the floor naturally. I'm not doing this. I'm just keeping it nice and out, and I'm doing a pistol squat until it reaches the floor. As I said yesterday, this will connect into tomorrow's video, but for now, I want you to focus on this. So, once again, bring your feet out, get all your weight onto your right leg, and just pistol squat until your non-dominant leg touches the floor. So we're going to do this about 5 times. Up, down, up, down, up, down, and up. Now you're going to feel some burning in your quads, maybe in your calves as well, but that's good. We want to develop those muscles and build up some endurance while we still can. So once again, today was a bit of a short one. That's because I'm sort of grouping these videos that I'm filming right now as a build-up to the full standing throw. So this is how I was taught to do a standing throw by my coach, Coach Bertos. And while it's tedious, it is effective at teaching you how to do it, and it's really nice and really insightful. So we're going to start where we were the last 2 days, with our main foot slightly in front of your non-dominant foot. You're going to bring them out about shoulder width apart. Now we're going to note that my dominant foot is still in front of my non-dominant foot, the same as we were right here. So even though it's out here, it's still in front of my left foot. So again, we're going to bring it out. We're going to get all our weight onto our right leg. If you need to, you can keep your arms out. So from here, we're going to squat down until my left leg touches the floor. My leg is straight, my knee is not bent. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. It's just nice and straight. I'm on my toes for both my left and my right foot, even though it might not seem like it. So I'm on my toes, and this is where we ended yesterday. From here, what I want you to do is just turn this way, put your left arm out like you're stretching to touch somebody's hand who's just out of reach. Put your dominant hand on your shoulder, like as you were holding a shot put, and that's it. So what that looks like in total is this. You're going to put your feet out, put all your weight onto your right, drop down, and bring your shoulder and torso facing this direction with your arm stretched out as your right arm on your neck. So I can hear some of you thinking, Thrower Martin, that's not enough of an addition to warrant a new video. And I know. So not only am I going to show you that, I'm going to show you the block, the turn, and the slap. Tomorrow we'll finish up the standing throw, and we'll move on to the glides after that. So once again, feet together, feet out, weight on your dominant foot, squat down, and your arm over. Now, from here, the block is going to be I'm putting my non-dominant foot down like this, so that way I can create a nice strong base for myself. Next, we're going to turn my dominant foot so that way it's facing this direction. So right now you can see my feet are a completely different way, almost completely opposite as they were before. So again, let's see that. Block, twist your right leg, and from here we're going to slap. But before we do that, let's see it again. Open up, weight on your right, squat down, twist your torso and your shoulders to face this way. Block with your left, open your right, and there you go. So do that about 5 to 10 times before moving on to this next part. You already know the drill, no pun intended. So I'm not going to walk through every part of it. If you're confused on what I'm doing, just watch back to my other videos and you'll get a good handle on it. So this is where we were before, when you block and turn your dominant leg. Now from here, my shoulders and my hips are still facing this way. I'm going to slap again. I'm still facing this direction. So I'm going to slap, creating this arc. If you can imagine this arc that I'm going to follow with my chest and my dominant arm, which is going to lead me into the position of the final throw. So again, let's see that. I'm here. I block my left foot, twist my right, still facing the back of the circle. I slap, creating this arc with my arm. I'm going to follow that arc with my chest and my dominant arm. And then from here, you would continue the full throw, but that's going to be tomorrow's video. Now, it's incredibly important that when you block and you twist your leg, when you slap, you're going to be opening up your hips. That was very subtle, and not everybody gets it. But you can see that from here to here, I twisted my hips like this in order to open myself up so I can get a stronger throw and not get in the way of myself. So, once more. Going to block, open up, slap while opening up the hips, and you're going to stop here. So, as usual, we're going to start with our feet together, bring them out. We don't really need to continue with the weight transfer drill. We can just get right into it. We're going to be on our toes. My left knee is going to be straight. I'm getting a little bend in my right leg. I'm putting a lot of force over it. My center of mass is over my right leg. My left arm is going to be stretched out. My right arm is going to be on my neck as if there was a shot put there. My left arm is a counterbalance, which is what keeps my weight over my right leg. So from here, I'm going to block, twist my right leg, slap while opening up my hips, and from here, all you have to do is bring your left arm in like this. And as you do that, you're going to see that your right arm naturally wants to push out. So from here, get a nice push off of your right leg and your right arm at the same time. So that looks something like this. So let's see that again. Now I'd recommend trying this a few times before you actually put a weight in your hand. Get a good feel of it. Make sure that when you throw, your weight is still on your back leg, even though you're pushing it, which can be kind of hard to understand, which is why I want you to do this drill a couple of times before you actually throw it so you can understand it. And what I mean by that is that your weight is still back here. It's still over my right leg. It's not over here. It's not here, but all the way back here. So despite the fact that I'm pushing off, and it kind of seems like I want to push myself over my left leg, I am never going to do that. I'm never going to push myself in a way that pushes me over my left, because that would push you over the toe board, which would result in a foul, and you and me both being sad. So once again, set up, lock, twist, slap while opening up the hips, pull in, push off your right, and push off your right arm at the same time. So pull in with your left arm, push off with your right leg and your right arm at the same time. So it can be a little confusing because some of the motions are combined. So I'll show you which motions happen at the same time. So I'm going to set up, I'm going to block and twist. Now these happen at the same time, sort of like this. Now the slap and the hip turn happens at the same time, and the pulling of the left arm, extension of the right leg, and the push of the right arm all happen at the same time. So like, this is what that looks like. So from the start, it looks like this. So all together, it looks like this.
So the drill I have for you today is called the A-frame drill. Now it's called that because you make an A with your legs. So we're going to start with our feet parallel. We're going to get up on our tippy toes, rock back onto our heel, and just let our leg form an A, like this. Let's get a better view on that. All right, so now that you can see my legs better, I'm going to walk you through what I just did. So we're going to get up on our tippy toes, like so. And then we're going to rock back on our heels, tippy toes, back, tippy toes, rock back. So you're going to get used to this motion. Then after a little bit, you're going to get on your tippy toes, rock back onto your heel, and just let yourself fall onto your back leg like this. Now I'm a righty, so the back leg is going to be my left leg. So once again, that is the A-frame drill. It is going to get you used to rocking back, so that way you can push off more efficiently. And so that way you're using your legs to their fullest potential. Now this is the first step to learning the glide. As you'll see later, this tippy toe and rocking motion is one of the most important parts of the glide throw. It's how you start and how you initiate the momentum that pushes you through the rest of the throw. So one more time. Just for clarification, I'll turn around so you can see my right leg. Going to get up on our tippy toes. Our left leg is just here for balance. Going to rock back and just land on our back foot. So like this. And that's all you're going to do. Now don't be fooled by its simplicity. The A-frame drill is one of the most important drills. I know I say that a lot, but these drills are important. Even though it may look silly and it may look like it's not doing much, I promise you that this motion is the catalyst that sparks the rest of the glide. If you can't get this down, it'll be so much harder in order to get the rest of the throw. So please take your time, get this part right, get it into your muscle memory, and I promise that you will have a better throw. So I'm going to mirror myself so that way you guys can follow along. So we're going to start where we were yesterday and get into a nice A-frame drill. We're going to get on our tippy toes, rock back onto our heels, and just let ourselves fall onto our back leg. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly bring in our right leg so that our right leg is facing this way. So my toes are facing you guys right now. And all of my weight is over this right leg. So if I needed to, I could pick up my left and I wouldn't fall over. As you can see, I'm picking up my left leg and nothing is changing with my balance whatsoever. So one more time, let's see that. Going to start with our A-frame, rock back, leg out. And you can see here how my center of mass isn't over either of my legs. So to fix that, we're going to push off our heel a little bit and then quickly and efficiently put our dominant leg under us. So that way our body weight is completely over that leg. Our right leg is carrying most of the weight, if not all of it. Our left leg is facing down, so that way I'm just resting on the tippy tips of my toes. Now after this, we would block, twist, and then that's just a standing throw. So from this moment, this is just a standing throw. So this is going to be how you start most of your throws. You're going to use your left leg solely for balance. You're going to get on your tippy toes on your right leg. You're going to rock back while doing a sitting motion. Check out my video on the chair drill for more information on that. That'll be right here. All right, great. So now that you're back, we're going to get into our normal position, like we're starting. We're going to raise up on our tippy toes like normal, rock back, and as in that video, we're going to push off of our heel with a little bit of force, and we're going to use that push to plant our dominant leg right under our hips. You can see that my shoulder is over my hip, which is over my knee, which is over my foot. I didn't bring it up here because at this point, I can't pick up my left leg without falling over. And I'm not all the way in here because I would be falling over to the right. So we're going to get in just the right position. So that way I support myself with a nice sturdy base. So that way we can shift into that block and turn so you can get the full extension and full power of the throw. Now what this does is it lets you get the momentum of the glide and push it into the force of the standing throw. So the standing throw is almost pure muscle force, while the glide is a very quick and agile motion. And all you're doing is you're combining those two elements in order to make one fast and powerful motion. So one more time without commentary. Am I being arrested? That doesn't sound good. One moment. There's some emergency alarms. Okay. Thank God it's just Santa. Hold on. All right, guys. Sorry about that interruption. I just had to make sure that everyone was okay. All the glide is the preparation to the standing throw, which we learned last week. And then the standing throw is just you using your muscles to push off the shot put. So all the glide is, all the rotation is, all the south is it's just adding more momentum to that final throw. So no matter what form you use, the end product right before you throw should be a natural standing throw, which is this. That's why it's so important for every throw, no matter what kind it is, to be able to land in this position right here. Of course, it'd be mirrored if you were a lefty, but you understand what I'm talking about. That's why this drill is especially important if you can't find yourself getting your right leg under the center of your mass. Because if you don't, then it's going to be very hard for you to push off the standing throw in an effective and powerful way. Like, for example, if my leg is all the way out here, I'm going to find it really hard to get a satisfying push. You can see that because I'm so much farther up than I normally would be, like here, you can see that I have a lot of spring and muscle energy to sort of bounce off and push off. But if I'm all the way out here, there's very little movement I can do, even if I get a nice deep squat, because it's not optimal. But you can try this for yourself if you don't believe me. Try doing a standing throw while your dominant leg is way over here. And you're gonna find that I have zero more room. I have no more room in order to push off. This is about as far as I can get. Even if I lay all the way backwards, you can see I'm almost falling over. I have maybe like 3 inches of room to work with, but if I'm getting a nice solid base, I have way more muscle and way more distance that I can extend that muscle over in order to get more force out of my big, strong muscles. I mean, you've worked for them, I've worked for them, we're in the gym constantly. So if you have those muscles, you might as well use them. The goal of the throw is to use as much of your body's muscle mass as possible. That's why we use our calves, we use our quads, we use our hamstrings, we use our hips, we use our arms, we use our core, and we use our biceps and triceps. And of course, you use your lats and your traps too. It's so important that you use all of those muscles, because the more muscle mass you can incorporate into your throw, the farther that's going to go, because you're getting more energy from your muscles that you're putting into the shot put as kinetic energy, and that's going to make it go farther. So you're taking up as much potential energy from your legs, your calves, your thighs, your arms, your core, your chest, and you're putting as much of that potential energy into this nice angle where it's going to maximize the distance for the amount of height you have. And you're going to push as hard and as fast as you can, getting a nice long push, which is going to transfer more energy into the shot put than if you just got a nice quick flick. You're going to want to get a nice deep push rather than just a real quick one, because less energy is going to be transferred in the shot put if you do it like that. All right, so I've outlined the toe board and the edge of the circle with these 2 paint stirrers. If you can't see them, I'm probably going to make them more visible in editing, so you're welcome. All right, so it's meet day. You want the quick basics. You want a quick, snappy, what should I worry about? What should I think about? And how do I get the best throw I possibly can? Back when I used to do glide throws, what I liked to do was I like to put my heels towards the toe board. I like to hit it a few times for good luck. I took 1 step, 2 step, and this is where I started. I didn't put my feet at the edge of the line because that would put me in risk of fouling. So what I did after this is I put the shot on my neck. I got into a nice deep squat. I put my arm out like I was trying to shake somebody's hand that's just out of my reach. I put all of my weight over my right leg. I engaged both my thigh and my calf. I got into a nice deep squat with my back bent like so. My left leg was just here for balance. And when I was ready to throw, I would imagine the push was like a switch that I would use to initiate my body for the rest of the throw. So I have my arm in tension, my shoulders in tension, my calves and my thighs in tension. So I'm going to raise up onto my calf. I'm going to rock back onto my heel while getting a nice sitting position like so. I pushed really hard off of my right heel. So that way I was pushed back towards the front of the board. You can see that my left leg hit the edge of the toe board, but that's okay because as long as you don't step on or over the toe board, then you're completely fine. So I land in this position with my left leg with my toes like so I can easily block like that. And I was on my toes, not my whole foot, my toes on my right with that tension that I built up earlier still in my legs, my calves still engaged, my thighs still engaged. It's a little tiring, but that's what you're supposed to do. So my arms are still in tension as they were before. You block, twist that leg, get a nice powerful slap. Make sure you're getting all the way out here, not just reaching your elbow across. You want to get a nice slap. And then from here, you're going to push like hell off of your legs, while at the same time pulling in with your left and pushing out with your right as hard as you can, making sure that your thumb is downwards like so, and that all four of your fingers are nice and closely together behind the shot put. So you're not throwing it like this. So that way the shot put's only supported by two. You want to make sure your fingers are nice and closed. So that way the shot put has as much force being put into it. And that force isn't being diverted into one or two fingers because that's really going to hurt. So we're going to start again. Get those two bangs for good luck. 1 step, 2 step. Get into a nice deep squat. Put your arms in tension. Put your leg in tension. Use your left leg for balance. I'm not doing this because this is a very unrepeatable motion. I'm introducing a lot of new stress and probability that I don't want in my throw. Currently, I know a lot of people who like to do that, but it's a very unrepeatable motion and you're just swinging your leg back with no rhyme or reason, and that can be a very bad habit that will be expressed later, and it'll take a lot of time to fix. So what I like to do is just ignore that tendency to want to generate that quick, fast, and easy motion, and I'm just going to rely on my legs, my core, and my upper body. So while it may be tempting to use that method, I personally wouldn't recommend it because it can lead to bad habits and unrepeatable motions. And the last thing you want to do is add unnecessary uncertainty into your throw because that makes it so much harder to analyze a throw and be like, what the hell happened? Why did that go so wrong? Or what the hell? How did that go so far? I've been on both of those different sides, and it's so unbelievably frustrating when you watch the video for like the fourth time and you cannot understand what the hell went right or what the hell went wrong. Anyway, enough about that rant. 1 step, 2 step. Get into a nice deep. You're going to want to be deeper than you think because honestly, if you go by what you think you should do, you're going to end up being like this. And this isn't as deep as we want. We want to get a nice, strong base right about here. You're going to feel it in your butt, your thigh, your calves, and you're going to feel it in the arches of your feet. So you're going to get up onto your toes. My left leg is just for balance. If I wanted to, I could pick it up whenever I want to. I'm not leaning back like this. All of my weight is over my right. So from here, I'm going to pop up a little bit and then get into a nice seated position as I rock back onto my heel. And from here, I'm going to leap backwards like so. You can see here that my toe is in the right position. My leg is facing towards you guys. And then from here, I'm going to block and twist at the same time, engage my core, slap to the fullest, turn my hips open. So the hips are going to go from here facing you guys to turning them and facing them forward. So you're going to slap, open the hips, reach in with your left and push out with your right and push off with your right leg. So from the beginning, I'm going to run through all of the tips I've taught you so far. So in order to get used to the standing position, put your feet together like so. Bring them out a little more than shoulder width apart. Get all of your weight onto your right leg. Squat so that way your back leg touches the floor. Get yourself nicely wound up so that way your chest and your hips are facing the back of the circle. Now that's the standing throw. Now for the glide, you're going to start with your feet right next to each other. You're going to put all of your weight onto your right. My left leg is just for balance. You're going to get up on your tippy toes and then rock back onto your heels and just put your leg backwards behind you. That's the A-frame drill. Now from there, we're going to quickly snag our foot. By pushing off our heel, we're going to get it under our center of mass. So that way I can still pick up my left leg. Now from here, this is just the standing drill. So you block and twist your right leg at the same time. You're going to slap and open your hips at the same time. And you're going to pull in with your left, push out with your right arm, and push off with your right leg at the same time. You can see I'm getting a nice high angle. I'm aiming here. I'm not aiming down here. I'm not getting my back arched over when I throw like so. I'm using my hips to get a nice high angle, and I'm not relying on my mass. I'm relying on my control and my muscles. So that was a lot of information. If you're confused about anything, you want to see more explanation, go see the other videos on that particular topic. So I guess tomorrow we'll go back to some of the more usual drills. Maybe I'll do some mirror turn drills, the monster drill, the wall drill. But for now, I just wanted to wrap up everything that I've been teaching you guys so far. I know it was a little bit of pain because a lot of those videos were very repetitive. So in this video, I just wanted to be straight to the point again and again. Just from point A to point B, what you want to do, what you want to focus on, what you want to watch out for. I know that that can be hard for some people. It's been hard for me too. I'm not excluding myself from some people. I struggled with it a lot. I wish I had something that was quick and easy to understand. So thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. This one is also a pretty long video. But no, I really appreciate every view, every person who sticks around and comments and says that they enjoyed it. It really means a lot to me, knowing that I can influence people like that and improve their throwing abilities. A lot of the times my throwing advice is unwarranted, so having that advice being sought out is an incredible feeling. I feel so helpful, and I owe it all to you guys. And there's been days where I've been like, oh, I have to make another video. I really don't want to do that. But I've enjoyed it. It's keeping me on track and accountable for what I have to do. It's been making me a better thrower, as making these, my shorts especially, making those and editing them, watching the same clip again and again, it helps me being able to diagnose what's wrong with each throw. And having to look at them so critically, it's really helpful for being able to see what's wrong. For example, in my last video, which right there, shameless plug, I realized that when I was driving, which looks like this, pretty simple motion. I was actually turning my foot so that way it wasn't facing the center of the board, it was facing off that way, which is why when I did the throw, I was turning, my foot was actually facing that way, which is why when I went to go do the rotational, it was so hard for me to stay centered and not over rotate. But I would have never been able to understand it if it was just somebody telling it to me versus actually seeing it myself. So if you can, I highly recommend recording your throws and then watching them back, seeing the critical points and what you want to look for. So the drill I have for you today is called the mirror turn. Fairly common rotational drill. You'll learn about it in discus if you do that, but it's also helpful for rotational shot put. So to do a mirror turn, you're going to start in your power position like this, like you're about to throw, but then instead of blocking, turning, and slapping, what you're going to do is you're going to bring your knees together as you turn, doing a 180. So that looks like this. So the point of the mirror turn is to get a good sense of balance during your rotational or discus throw, to get all of your weight onto your dominant leg. As you can see, I was kind of falling off to the side with my left leg a little bit, and you don't want to be doing that. You want to keep all your weight on your right leg. So I could spin super easily like a top, keeping all my weight onto my right leg. So that way I get a perfect pivot every time. Now you're gonna notice that something I've been doing is I've been bringing my knees together, like they've almost been touching every time. And what that does is that by bringing your leg in, you're decreasing your moment of inertia, which allows you to pivot faster. And because this is the middle of the throw, you're gonna wanna be faster than you were at the beginning of the throw, but not as fast as you are at the end of the throw. So this is just a transitional period, which is why mirror turns are so important, because if you can't connect the beginning to the end, then you're not gonna benefit from getting better at either of those if you can't combine them during the mirror turn. I can see that some of you are skeptical about the inertia stuff, and it's a little bit of a tricky concept to understand. So to prove it, I have 2 dumbbells right here, and I'll show you how that works right now. So I've got 2 dumbbells. I'm keeping the center of mass close to my chest. As you can see, I could still turn pretty fast on my toes, but now watch what happens if I bring these out. You can see that it's a lot slower and more uncontrolled. It becomes a lot harder to both stop and start, but if I bring it in, it's both real easy to start and stop because my moment of inertia is smaller. So to apply that to the mirror turn, your left leg is going to act like the dumbbells I just had, and your dominant right leg is going to be the center of your mass. Because as I said earlier, you're supposed to keep your center of mass over your right leg. So when you bring that extra weight, which is your left leg, in, you're going to be able to pivot a lot easier. Compare that to this, and you can see that that was a lot slower of a pivot. So takeaways from today's lesson: a mirror turn is when you get into a power position and then do a 180, so that way you're facing the other direction. You bring your knees together, and the end of one mirror turn should mirror the end of the other. So if I wanted to, I could keep doing mirror turns infinitum, which makes them really good for practicing over and over and over again. Because if you're doing them right, where you start is where you end is where you start. Today we're talking about the South African drill, so let's get into it. This one's a big one, so keep it in mind. So the South African drill, also known as the South or the 3/4 turn drill, I use them at least once or twice a practice because, especially for rotation, they're very good for doing the back half of the throw and just skipping out on the beginning of the throw, which can throw everything else off. So the souths are useful because it eliminates the front half of the throw, which is the biggest weak point and it's the most skill heavy part of the rotational throw. And while souths aren't legal in meets, they can really help you focus on just the back end of the throw while ignoring the more tedious, skill heavy front end of the throw. So I'm going to show you what a south is, how to do one, what to look out for, and how it benefits you. So these weights right here are going to represent the toe board, and this paint stick right here is going to represent the other end of the board. So in order to do a south, we're going to start like you would if you were doing a full rotational, and then we're just going to pivot 180 with half of our foot inside the circle and half of our foot outside, and of course the rest of our body is outside of the circle. This is why this throw is illegal in competition meets, because you have to start inside the circle to throw. So we're going to get into what I call the drive position, which is going to be the moment where you drive. Surprise, surprise. So you're going to get almost like a running position. You're going to sweep your right leg around, landing it in the center, and then you're just going to do a quick mirror turn like this. You're going to want to stay wound up during the whole time, staying on your toes, getting a nice block, and then of course from here, it's just a standing throw. You know all about that. I'm not going to go over it again. So again, one more time, without me talking. Now that's going to be a South African drill. So if you throw often enough, you'll notice that souths tend to go farther than your stands, your mirrors, and sometimes even your fulls. And what that tells you is that if the south is going farther than your full, then the problem you have is at the beginning of the circle. And if they're going about the same distance, then it's something else. Of course, any thrower has more than just one problem, but it can be a really easy way to diagnose what's wrong with your throw, especially if the south is going so much farther than the regular throw. So just to be clear, we're going to start at the edge of the circle. Half of our foot is going to be in, half of it's going to be out. We're going to get a nice deep running position almost. I don't know if you can see, but my other foot is like this. I'm just keeping it out. I'm getting a good push off that, quickly bringing my dominant foot around and in, doing a sweeping motion. It's going to land in the middle of the circle, and I'm going to do a mirror turn, making sure to keep my weight over my back right leg, so that way I'm not here, in which case I lose all of that force. I'm staying nicely wound up on my toes, on my calves, on my thighs, so that way I have a lot more force to be able to push off and send that thing into the stratosphere. Today I'm going to walk you through the rest of the rotational shot put form and how to connect it to the rest of the throw. I've shown you how to do a standing throw, a mirror turn, a South African drill, and now I'll be teaching you the start of the rotational throw. So you'll be able to piece it all together from there, and I hope you enjoy the coming content. So in order to show you in more detail, so that way I'm not off to the side, I'm going to be demonstrating it here as if this was the edge of the circle. Unfortunately, that means I can't connect it to the rest of the throw because I would hit my face in the wall and that wouldn't be fun. All right, great. So my feet start at the edge of the toe board. I'm going to get a nice stance, a little farther shoulder width apart. I'm going to get onto both of my tippy toes, getting a nice deep squat, having my center of mass be over my feet. I'm going to put my left arm over my left knee, so that way, no matter how I turn it, these two would be pointing the same direction. My right arm is going to be holding the shot put as normal. And so this is going to be how you start the rotational throws. And then I'm going to show you how to connect it to the South African in just a second. As you probably could have seen earlier, my leg was shaking quite a lot just because it's a very tiring motion. So if you are hyping yourself up to start a throw, I'd recommend just being on the heels of your feet. And then when you're ready to throw, then you get on your tippy toes. All right, so we're ready to throw. How I like to start these throws is I like to use my shoulders to get a bit more momentum. Although you could see here that my balance is still good. I could do this a million times and never fall over. But you can see that when I'm turning my left leg, my left arm is following that knee, so it's always pointing in the same direction. All right, so we're going to shift our weight onto our right as we do this. And then when you come back, you're going to shift that weight back over onto your left. You're going to use that momentum to turn yourself. Almost hit myself in the wall. It's the one thing I said not to do. As I was saying, you're going to use that momentum you just built up after you shifted your weight to completely turn your heel. And then this position looks familiar, doesn't it? This is the position of the South African drill. So that's why I showed you that yesterday, because today you're going to be using this starting motion to connect it to the South African. If I did not have this wall here, I would put it together for you. But, well, the wall is here. It's not going anywhere. Maybe I'll show you. Oh, it's a good idea. I am a three-dimensional being. Flora Martin. It's the little things you forget. Okay, so after that embarrassing moment, I brought myself back together. So I'm going to start here as if this was the edge of the circle. Of course, I'm not going to put too much force into it because this wall is still here and I don't want to kick it. So getting into a nice deep squat. My left arm is still over my left leg. I'm going to get a wind up, shifting my weight onto the right. And then I shift my weight back onto my left while getting a nice turn. I'm actually locking my ankles so that way they turn at the same time. A problem I've had for a very long time is that I liked to turn and then quickly bring my ankle around, which throws you off. And, well, if you do it wrong enough, it can mess up your ankle, so I wouldn't recommend it. So what I mean by that is that instead of disassociating my ankle and my leg, I'm turning them both at the same time, so that way there isn't any lock. So that looks something like this. If I was here, I'm doing this, not this. So make sure to use your ankles in order to align your feet with your leg. So one more time, this is going to be a full rotational throw. Going to get in that nice deep stance. Shoulders square, chest is up. I'm going to load my weight onto my right, shift it back over to my left, generating that rotational momentum. I'm driving down to the center of the circle. I'm landing with my foot in the center, giving it a nice quick pivot so that I can plant my left leg. I'm still wound up. So now I can get a good standing throw. So the benefit of a rotational versus a glide is that with a rotational, you're adding a lot more momentum, but the drawback there is that it's a lot harder to control. Today we're going to be talking about the wall step drill. That's kind of a name I just made up on the fly. I don't really know what it's called. But without further ado, let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about a drill that can help you keep your weight back as you drive towards the center of the circle during a rotational or a discus throw, which is why I have my nice trusty wall here. I do recognize that the feed is like half the wall and half me, but I'm in the middle of cleaning out my basement, so that side is not for YouTube. It's, it's dirty, it's a basement. So, in order to start this drill, I'm going to start with my back towards the wall. I'm going to take one full step away from it. So I'm going to get into that South African position that I showed you 2 videos ago. I'm actually going to keep my arms up here so that way I can catch myself in the wall. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to hop towards the wall, bring my leg up and my arms out like here. And the goal is to get close to the wall, get very close to the wall, but don't actually hit the wall. So, more time if you can see me. I'm going to keep my arms up like this. I'm going to bring my right leg around, hop right next to the wall, bringing my left leg up. So I'll show you on this wall, so that way you can actually see what I'm doing. So, arms are out. I'm going to bring just like that. And what this does, and the reason that this helps you with balance and keeping your weight back, is that, well, it kind of forces you to. If you don't keep your weight back, then you smack your head into the wall. And, well, drills like these where you have literally no other choice but to succeed, those ones are, well, they're damn well pretty effective. If you have literally no other choice than to do it right, then by the time you do like 30 to 40 of them, then you'll be good. So I'll show you on this wall once again. I'll get into that nice running position. And you can see how I almost hit the wall, which wasn't great. So to master these, you can see there, I was super close to the wall, but I wasn't quite there. So what that translates to is that if you're having trouble going down the center and keeping your weight back, so you would be falling like this keeps your weight back. So if when you drive, your weight falls forward like this, that's what this drill fixes. It keeps you nice and balanced back here. Because if you try to lean forward in this drill, you're going to hit your head on the wall. So the drill we're talking about today is one that helps with over-rotation at the beginning of the circle in a rotational shot put throw. It was taught to me by a former athlete at my school, and it's been really helpful, especially because I have problems with over-rotation, and it's something I definitely need to keep working on. So I'm very glad to be making this video because it's as much for me as it is for you. So what you'll need for this drill is anything tall and sturdy that won't move unless it's pushed over. I have generic brand disinfecting wipes here. That'll do for this demonstration. So let's get into the drill. I'm gonna change my shoes real quick. All right, so now that I've gotten my shoes on, I put the disinfecting wipes right where my left foot would be if I were to start a rotational throw. So you can see that if I were to over-rotate, my heel would clip the side of the object, whatever you chose, and it would send it to the side. So this is a much more physical and personal way of feeling if you're over-rotating or not, because it's a much more binary action. Either you hit the object or you don't. So if I was over-rotating, my left foot would knock over the object, which is why you want something that's going to be sturdy enough to not knock itself over. Anything works, water bottle, a shoe even. I usually use a 1 gallon disposable water jug. During practice, you're going to put your object where I told you, right beside your left foot when you start out. And you're going to go as practice normal, doing your rotationals, but just making sure that you don't knock over your object. So you can see here, I over-rotated because I knocked over the object. And I know that for sure because it was on its side. If I didn't have the object, it would be kind of hard for me to tell if I over-rotated or not. But because I knocked over the object, I know 100% for sure I over-rotated on that throw. So this drill, just like with the step back wall drill, is one of those drills where you
physically have to do it. Either you get it right or you just keep failing. And that's what I like about this drill so much, is that there's no way to not improve by doing it. I mean, of course, you could just keep hitting and knocking over the object, but, you know, the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting it to change. However, if we didn't throw over and over again, we would never get better. I don't call that insanity, I call that progress. So, one last time. I've got my object maybe an inch away from my foot, maybe not exactly next to it, as your foot does need to turn and it's gonna go outward as it does that. So it's about an inch away from my foot. I'm going to load up, shift my weight, and just be aware of your surroundings, which is why the object is there. It forces me to be in tune with my surroundings, which gives me a much more controlled, calm, and collected sense of throwing. Shotput is often misconstrued as something that's just brute force and for grunts and for, people who are just insanely strong. But the beauty of shotput is that it's so intricate and it's down to the smallest muscle movement. And that it's just as much of a butterfly's flap of its wings as it is about that quick throw. As Muhammad Ali said, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Today, we're going to be bringing back the broom handle drill, this time for rotational throwers. I do apologize for the lack of creativity by bringing back the broom handle drill. That is my fault, and I do take responsibility for that. I thought it was kind of cheap. When I started this challenge, I thought 30 different shot put drills would be a really hard goal. And I was right. I couldn't think of 30 different ones, so I brought it down to 25. And you know what? In the last 6 or 5 days, it's it's been hard to think of new ones. I've been going off of what I've been struggling with. Personally, I had my first shot put meet yesterday, and that's why I'm bringing back the broom handle drill, because while I did it for glide throws, I didn't do it for rotational. Now that I have the space to do it for rotationals, I feel like I want to do that. If you still think that it's cheap of me, then, it's a valid criticism, and I do apologize. So, this time I actually do have a broom handle plucked straight out of the one from yesterday's video. You already know the drill. We're going to put it on our necks, giving us a nice solid wing frame. This drill is specifically because on my meet, I was dropping my left shoulder, doing kind of one of these, and I hope to fix that by next week or the week after that. So this drill is really just to get our shoulders level, because it's really easy to feel if your shoulders aren't level when they're connected like this. And so I didn't notice the other day when I was dropping my shoulders until after the meet had ended. But what the broom handle drill does is it lines up your shoulders. So that way, even if you did still drop your shoulders, it would be a lot easier to tell that you're doing it. And hopefully it would be easy to fix it. So as before, we're going to get it nice and snug on our back, making sure our shoulders and arms are in line. We're going to get into our nice, solid rotational stance. Shift your weight onto your right. And when you're ready, shift your weight back onto your left, giving it a nice pivot, and then landing in your power position. So you can see there, I did slightly drop my right shoulder, but I was able to pick it out really cleanly because my left arm noticeably rose up in the air. But if I didn't have the broom handle, it would be super hard to be able to diagnose that so easily. Again, like I said yesterday, I really like these physical drills that allow you to realize what you're doing wrong in a nice, simple, and intuitive way. For the rotational throw, what the broom handle drill is going to do for you is it's going to make it really easy to tell if you're dropping your shoulders. And while that's true for the glide version of this drill, it's especially important for the rotation because, as I learned yesterday, if you're dropping yourself in the beginning, then it's going to be really hard to catch yourself at the end. What I was doing yesterday was when I was starting my spin, I was dropping my left, which was forcing me to go over towards the left sector line, which was what was causing me to foul. Today we're going to be talking about how to shift your weight onto your left during a rotational shot put throw. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this problem will plague almost every single rotational shot put thrower. It's plagued me. It still plagues me. I'm doing this video actually so I can hopefully get better at it. So the problem we aim to fix is that when we go to throw rotational, we end up not reaching towards the left enough, which ends up throwing us off balance. As you can see, I should have caught myself, but I didn't. So in order to fix that, what we have to do is we have to reach all the way over here with our left, so that way our center of mass is over our left leg, which is kind of an unfamiliar feeling. So used to having our center of mass be over our right leg that switching it to be over our left leg is really hard, which is why we want to focus on reaching, because it forces our body to maneuver itself in a way that shifts our center of mass over from the right leg to the left leg. So like so. My center of mass is over on my right. You can see I can pick up my left leg right now, and I'm going to shift it onto my left leg. You can see here I can pick up my right leg if I wanted to, which allows me to get a nice quick pivot. So I'm not going to reach over right now. And you can see that wasn't very controlled, it wasn't very good. I sort of fell over towards the beginning. I fell over towards the left sector line, if this was a toe board. So now I'm going to reach over, shifting my weight onto my left. And you can see that my weight was a lot farther back when I landed in my power position. I wasn't over here. I was still down here. I kept running into the wall, so I just changed my camera angle so you could see it better. That's all this is. That's all this background is. So like before, you could see that all my weight is over my right leg. And so now when I start the throw, I'm going to shift all of my weight onto my left leg. So now I can pick up my right leg if I wanted to, sweep, and get a nice controlled block. So that way you can slap and push. This is what I got wrong on last week's shot put meet. When I was going up, I neglected to shift over, and my weight fell towards the left sector line, which would be about right here. You could see during that, I ended my throw like this, and that's not good. I was clearly pushing too far towards the left, which caused my body to be out of sync with what it's supposed to be. So to fix that, all I'm going to do is reach over here, shift my weight onto my left. So I'm going to be as much over my left as I am on my right here. And you can see that was a lot straighter down the line, or at least it should have been. So I'm on my right, shift my weight over to the left, get a good sweep, and now you're in a great position to slap and throw. Now, I really needed to get this down last meet, but my nerves got the better of me, and I didn't trust myself at that point. And that's on me. I should have been more confident in myself and been able to diagnose it. But that's partly why I'm making these videos, is so that way I know what's wrong when I do it. I kind of fell over on that one. So it's way more important than you might realize to get your weight over on your left, so that way you can get a nice clean push. Think of it this way. When you start a South African drill, you start it like that, right? You don't start it like this,
because that would be stupid. You're already shifting your weight towards the left sector line, and that's gonna throw off your throw. No, you're nice and level, you get a good push, and then you get a good turn. What I was doing, and what some people do, is they fall over onto their left, like this, so that way their push naturally wants to go to the left sector line. And that causes you to have to overcompensate later in the throw, which leads to fouls, and it leads to near misses or sloppy throws. It leads to sloppy throws, is what I'm trying to say. It's way better if you just cut out all that uncertainty and you just shift your weight onto your left before you throw, so you can get a nice, clean push off of your left leg. All right, so for my final demonstration, I'm going to put these two videos side by side. One is going to be me shifting my weight, and one is going to be me not shifting my weight. So here is me not shifting my weight. Now the drill I have for you today is a modified mirror turn, but we're not focusing on the upper body, we're focusing on the lower body. We're actually focusing on just one thing in specific. The only reason we're doing a mirror turn is so that way we can get the feeling of blocking while we come out of a turn. I'm going to get in a nice mirror turn stance, and all I'm going to do, bring my knees and just stomp my left foot down on my toes as fast as I can. I kind of cut myself off because I did it so fast, but the idea behind this is that you do a simple mirror turn and then you just plant your left leg down fast, efficient, and with a lot of force. So that way, during meets or during an actual throw, you can get it down quickly, get it into a good block, and then you can push. I've not been doing that. If I do get a block, I block and then I immediately let go of it, so that way it faces towards the sector, which not very good. You don't want to do that. So I'll show you again. Get into a good mirror stance. We're going to bring our knees together, and I'm just going to plant my left leg down on my toes as fast as I can. Just like that. It's going to feel a little aggressive. It's going to feel fast. You can see I actually rubbed a fair bit of my throwing shoes onto the concrete right there. But the idea is, that when you throw, if you get good enough at getting a nice strong block, you get a nice good plant, it'll be a lot easier to turn it into a strong block that you can throw off of. So my problem right now is I'm not blocking at all. And if I do get lucky enough to get a block, like I said earlier, it's not a block at all. So I'll show you in this direction too, if you'd like to see it. So I set up for a mirror turn. I do a mirror turn, and then I just plant my left foot down. Again. 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 Today we're going to be talking about the knee fusion drill. You'll see why it's called that in just a second. So you're having trouble bringing your knees together during the pivot to create a fast and reliable mirror turn. A regular mirror turn looks like this, if you haven't seen my other video. And you can see that I brought my knees together in the middle of that, so that way I decrease my moment of inertia, so that way I can spin faster. The physics are out of there. All you need to know is that the more your center of mass is concentrated, the faster you're going to spin. Although sometimes it's easier said than done. So if you're having trouble bringing your knees together, this drill is made to help you with that. So this one is going to be in 2 steps. The first one is going to be, you're just going to get in a good position like this. And all you're going to do is you're going to bring your left knee into the other one. Make sure not to do it hard enough to hurt your knee. You're just going to be bringing them together like so. And just do that a couple of times.
The next step, we're going to get into our South African running stance. And now all we're going to do is we're going to place our right foot down in the middle and then just add the step from earlier, or we bring our left leg in. So all together, looks like this. Again. Once more. And then I'll show you from this side so you can see what I'm doing. First step. Second step. Second step. So you can see I'm not adding any rotational momentum. For now, I'm just making it linearly. I'm just stepping into it. Step right in front of the other, and then bring your knee into the pit of the other knee. So, again, step. You're going to bring your left knee into the pocket of your right knee, like this. My legs kind of crash into each other, but I promise it'll still work. As long as your knees are closer together, as long as you feel the movement, it is totally fine. So from here, we're going to add that rotational momentum once again. So we're going to get a sweep. And then look you just put your knees together. How crazy is that? In just 5 minutes, you've gone from not being able to do it to being able to do it. Now, if you're still struggling, I'll break it down.
Let me break it down for you, Mark.
Even more. So we're going to swing our dominant leg around, like so, which makes our body want to turn this way, counterclockwise. And we're going to use that force and we're going to go into it. So once we place down, we're going to bring our knee back into that pocket, and that rotational momentum will turn you. So I'm not even going to try to put my knees together. I'm just going to follow the drill I've laid before you. And you can see that was a little sloppy, but that was the general idea of bringing your knees together. So swing. Push your left knee into the pocket of your right knee, and that rotational momentum will cause a good, stable pivot. Now it's going to be harder when we add the start of the rotation to it, as there's going to be more things that could go wrong. Like that, I didn't bring my knees together. So it can be hard to focus on, but as long as you're thinking about driving your left knee into the pocket of your right, almost like you're trying to dead leg yourself. You can see, it's like I'm trying to dead leg myself. So as long as you do that, when you drive from the South African position, and then just put it back down after you've done that, then you'll be good. Of course, now we have the problem of, now that the knee is in the pocket, what do you do? Well, that's a great question. So once you get that momentum and you've placed the knee into your pocket, the momentum should carry you and spin you around like so. And from here, I'm just going to put my foot down in a stable block. So now I'm just going to plant my foot so that way I can get a good block and throw from here. So it's 3 main components: the sweep, the land, you put the knee into the pocket, the other one, and your body will naturally want to turn itself around. And then you just plant your left leg down on the floor to create that block. And with like any physical activity, there's always going to be one thing that everyone else seems is really simple, but you just can't quite grasp. And I thought that maybe if I did a step-by-step instruction for how to put your knees together, it would be helpful for somebody who's having trouble with that. I kind of learned it just from experience and like my coach over the years, but I've never had like a definitive thought to put behind it until maybe like a year ago. But before that, I was just kind of doing it without really knowing why. If you want to know why, I said so in my mirror turn video. If you want to watch that, I would have greatly appreciated. But really, all it is you're just literally putting your knees together. That's it. You're putting one knee into the other, and your rotational momentum will carry you into a mirror turn. That is what a mirror turn is. This is a mirror turn. I mean, this is essentially just the mirror turn video, except I'm focusing on the knees. One more time, final word. That's all I'm gonna say. Step-by-step instructions. Get into a power position. Bring your left leg or your non-dominant leg into the knee pit of the other leg, like so. Then from here, we're going to get in a South African running stance. We're going to place our dominant leg and then just do the same thing again. So after you've done that a couple times, we're going to add a sweep to it, which looks like this. And we're doing that to add rotational momentum into the stance. So we're placing our foot again and then bringing our knee in, which should automatically turn your body. And then after you've done that a couple times, all we're gonna do is just plant our non-dominant leg at the end like so. So all together, final word. You should get a mirror turn that looks like that. It may be a little clunky because you're focused on bringing your knees together rather than twisting yourself in a mirror turn. But if you are struggling with bringing your knees together, I highly recommend doing this at least a couple times. Today we're going to be talking about another drill I made up called the catapult drill. Now this is a step between a flick and a standing throw, but I'm not going to take any more of your time. Let's get into it. So before I use my trusty brass shot, I'm going to show you what the catapult drill is. Now what the catapult drill does is it mixes the direction you're facing of the flick with the stance of the standing throw. So in order to do a catapult drill, we're going to get into our normal A-frame position. We're going to turn this way. We're going to twist our leg forward so that it's facing the front of the toe board and the sector lines. And all we're going to do is we're going to load up onto our back leg with the shot put. If you just don't even want to start from this position, and you don't want to deal with the slap or really the turning of the foot or the opening of the hips, oh look, this is the starting position of the catapult drill. Look, we take away the slap, we take away the turn, and we take away the hips. Now what are we left with? The catapult drill. And this is the beauty of it. What a catapult drill is it just removes the slap, the twisting of your right leg or your dominant leg, and the turning of the hips or the hip turn. And so what you're left with is a strong but stable base where you can use yourself like a catapult and just push off with your right leg while bringing in your left. This is in no way a replacement for a standing throw in competition. I do not recommend doing this in competition. If you want to do it in competition, that's fine. I'm pretty sure it's not against the rules, but please don't blame me for any bad throws you might have. But if you want to focus on just the push of the shot put, and you don't want to deal with the slap and the block and the twisting and the hip turn, then, my friends, the catapult drill is for you. So, I'm not going to throw my friend the poor brass shot put, but I will put it in my neck to demonstrate. So, feet together, feet out, twist that right leg, bring your left arm out like so, load up your weight onto your right, not too much so you don't cause injury. And from here, we're just gonna push off while pulling in with the left and pushing off with the right. Today is special because I'm teaching you a shot put form that I invented. Yes, form, not drill, because this is technically a legal throw.
So I'll show you how to do it. I'll tell you why I made it, and I'll pass that knowledge from me to you. I call it the stomp or the Martin stomp, or whatever you want to say. And to do one, I have my shoes and a piece of wood representing the back of the circle and the toe board. To start the stomp, we're going to put our feet parallel like this. Start almost in a mirror turn like state, except we're going to bring all of our weight onto our left leg so we're completely balancing on it. And then we're going to lift up our right leg ever so much, as high as you can. And then to initiate the stomp, we're going to fall forward, catching ourselves with that leg we had up in the air. And then as fast as we can, do a mirror turn, get a strong block. And because your leg was pushing down already, you're going to already have that force needed for a good strong push. So from here, it's just a regular throw. So I'll do one for you now. It might not be controlled. Like I said, once you commit to it, you can't really stop. So we're going to lean forward. Talk about explosive, huh? Hopefully, because you're offsetting some of that momentum with the pushing of the shot, you shouldn't throw yourself over the toe board. You can see there I knocked myself into it. But hopefully that final push of the shot will be enough to bring you back into the center of the circle. So the reason I like this so much is because it's so hard to bail from, because it goes by as quick as a glide does. A glide happens very fast. The only point you can really sell yourself short is the wind up, like right here when you're like just before you throw, and then you trigger. And that's really the only point that you can psych yourself out. But for the rotational, you have the wind up, you have the turn, you have the mirror turn, and then at this point, you don't have anywhere to back out. But for here, it's just at this point, and once you get here, there's no backing out. You just got to do it.